You ready to go?
I am ready.
All right, guys. Welcome back to the Ascendant Podcast. I'm giving everyone a minute to join. I'll do our introduction. As you guys know, I'm Caleb Schulke, your host, and I'm obviously the guy who's been planning this for a while. I've been through the economic ringer before, and that's going to be a key point we're going to talk about today. And I've lived to tell the tale of it. Today, for episode 25, we're not just chatting, we're dissecting the beast that's today's 2025 economy. The first thing before I introduce my co-host here, my great co-host, and we talk a little bit more about the point is, and I want this to be the kicker moment that brings you in today. Imagine standing at the edge of a cliff with wind whipping around you, kind of like a movie scene, right? And you're staring into an abyss that could swallow your dreams whole. You don't know what's down there. It's intimidating. It's like the Grand Canyon, right? This is what the year 2025 feels like for so many hustlers out there, with costs of living skyrocketing, jobs vanishing like smoke, rug pulls and manipulation in the markets, and that constant grind to just honestly stay afloat. But here's the twist. What if I told you there's not just a way to survive this storm, but to actually conquer it? I've came up with a roadmap, and I'm going to share that with you. And that's actually what we're going to be unpacking today with my co-host. Go ahead.
Anthony Parra, finally.
You want to shout out your background real quick so people know who you are?
Oh, my background. Yeah. So my name's Anthony Parra. I'm sort of like in the middle right now of I've been putting a lot more time into what we do at Altura right now. I'm the Altura COO. Before this, I was working a ton on trying to develop a personal brand around fitness. So fitness is definitely my passion, but I'm grinding right now on operations for Altura to get things done for you guys, for the holders benefit. So that's what I do for now. No, yeah. Caleb, college.
And of course, yeah, I'm like a coach at heart. I have some clients still. I was just meeting with one of the people I'm working with last night. We had to figure out some issues with Facebook. Facebook's always so complicated to run ads and get approved. Your account gets shut down. So I was spending some time doing that. I still am in the coaching business. That's my passion at heart. But right now, obviously, the most important thing Anthony and I could be building right now is Altura. It's the escape hatch. It's the one safety net in this economy and market that seems all over the place. And again, Anthony, I'm stoked to have you here. So I appreciate everything you've been doing here. These episodes where we're together versus just me, it's always a lot more entertaining, I think, for everybody. So let's make this a TED Talk kind of stage with some raw stories. We're going to bounce back some questions. Hopefully that's entertaining for you guys for the next 20 minutes. Just lock in, put everything else aside. Trust me, this time is going to be worth it. You will have an actual course of action if you just pay attention. So I'm going to hit you with a story to set the vibe here. Just a few months ago, me personally, this is my testimonial. I was staring at my American Express credit card account, and my heart was not feeling great, right? Because I'd thrown everything so far into Altura, and I had put even my rent on the credit card to make sure we could run some ads we needed, things like that, because it was more important to get the things out the door. And I had over $12,000 stacked on a business card that was about to get hit with 26% annual interest, all to fund the site development, the marketing videos, the legal setups, everything else in the works that we're still honestly developing for Altura. So I was on the edge of that cliff. I was literally like, don't know what's down there. I don't even know if there's safety. Maybe there's help. Maybe there's not. Maybe I'm just gonna lose everything if I jump. And it was all in or bust. And that pressure, man, it's nearly broke me. I was tempted to fold like everybody else is. I was tempted to let the stress eat me alive. But I did what the 1% of people who actually make it out of this do, is I flipped it. I flipped it into rocket fuel. I sold, I went out there and hustled. I sold NFTs, got people that were close to me in my network to commit to buy them. We got the money for it. We were able to push some ads out. Anthony and I went to Dallas, did the live drop of the collection that we're still pushing here for the pre-sale and moving the project forward one day at a time. Obviously, everything else recovered out of that. I have the screenshots literally on my phone of like looking at 5-figure debt basically on a one credit card, let alone others. And just leaning on the savings from my coaching stuff, my bank accounts and stuff, and got Altura off the ground. Without that fight, I would still be like drowning in the debt, right? If I didn't act in the most important moment, I would still be suffering. And it was a huge moment. And that's not my first battle. And Anthony, hopefully while I'm talking about this, I'm gonna give you the opportunity to share and some of the things you've grinded through in the past too. But back with Daredevil Athletics, that was one of my early ventures, right? I started that in a year off of college. You guys might know that if you've been tracking my story. I was dealing with the distance, right, from my people, my crew that I knew from school. My dad's heart surgery, he had an entire valve of his heart replaced. Crazy surgery. It left him very weak and frail, not able to do a lot of the stuff day to day around the house. And so I took on a 12-hour manufacturing job, 6 p.m. to 6 a.m., the graveyard shift, working in a factory. and trying to provide for them at home. And I was also dealing with the punch from probably the first significant breakup of my life. That was a year plus relationship. It's all going on, and all that got fed into Daredevil. So the fact that I was able to perform on Altura was a little bit easier because I'd done this in the past. Adversity is real, folks, and the difference is how you handle it. That's what puts you on the mic on a podcast here versus choking on stress. So Anthony, a lot of people are dealing with stress right now. First of all, why don't you go ahead and share like an anecdote of something you've had to overcome in your life, what I've been let you think about here. And then I'm going to ask you another question about the bigger scheme of things. So go ahead and share something to show other people your journey here.
Yeah, absolutely. Since we're on the topic of the economic state that we live in 2025, I'll share a similar one that I went through just last year in 2024. Caleb and I went to the same college. We finished up. I had a little bit of a different trajectory just straight out of college because I was dating a girl that I loved for a few years while I was there. But our college doesn't allow you to be married while you're there, have no dependents. So I had planned to have our wedding be right after school. You get married, and then I'm moving across the country to Texas, where I currently live. But I'm originally from the West Coast, so quite a long drive, quite far away from where I'm, used to being home stationed per se. But with all that said, I remember too, I don't have screenshots to back it like Caleb does, but I remember being to a point where in order to hold a wedding venue, have some food, things that just really basic things. I didn't have a crazy wedding or anything at all, but I have a big family and I wanted to bring out all of my brothers like Caleb and people that I know, just to come celebrate that day with me. So I was kind of in the stress of planning that, paying for that mostly because that's the wife planned, I paid for most of it. Not only that, but then leaving what I had just known for the last 4 years of my life to go and start a new transitionary period into something that I didn't really understand what I was getting myself into, for what I do for my day job now across the country. And finding a way, also didn't have a place to live at the time too. So finding, how am I going to find shelter at least for me and my wife after we just get married, right? But I remember, I had a electrical apprenticeship job in high school. And I remember being back in my hometown for that kind of 2-month transition period and looking at my bank statements and being like, I'm going to be negative. Like if I actually want to go through with my wedding and drive across the country and find a place to live and pay my first month of rent, like I'm not going to have the money for it. So I remember taking like a month of that 2 months to go work 12-hour shifts for the electrical company, wiring houses in 110-degree weather, just trying to break my back to at least have the finances I needed to pay for the wedding because I could have let my wife down, and getting across the country because I couldn't let the company down. And so I made it happen, and it was extremely difficult to just live off my paycheck for a while because the wife didn't have work. But, in the end, it all worked out, in part because of my persistence. I'm also a man of faith, so I believe God had some hand in that. But that's been my experience of the last year, and we're doing a lot better now. But that's just another testament to the fact that, adversity is bound to be a part of your life, and it's really what makes the highs of your life feel like highs, because otherwise there'd be no difference between highs and lows. But it just takes consistency and putting your head down to figure that out for sure.
There's always like a yin yang in life, right? There's a light to every dark and a dark to every light. And it's, as you guys may have pieced together, we both just shared a story. I didn't know what story he was going to share, but I can see from what we both just told you that there's elements of each of our story that shows that it's like a movie, right? There's a rising action, there's a conflict. Both cases, this was more financial, more than anything else. I had some stress of the emotional side with my family, dealing with my father's surgery and all that. Obviously, as you know from last week, he's still kind of dealing with some stuff. But both cases, you have a challenge, and what makes you the hero or the villain is how you respond or don't respond to that situation. Anthony could have just said, "That sucks. I'll just take out a loan and like make my situation worse or whatever, and be probably trapped in worse debt now." Or he went out and acted, right? He went back to stage one of just putting himself in the shoes of the working man and getting that done. You either act or you don't act. And it's not saying, there's probably a million other things he could do. He could have like maybe worked less and like traded some stocks or found some other cool hustles, but it doesn't matter at the end of the day, because there's a million routes and a million like life, threads you could go down. But the important thing is, are you doing something that drives it forward, or are you stalling out? And if you just act every time you're faced with one of those situations, it doesn't matter how good, whether it was 10% better than this other option or not, that's what makes you successful from what I found. Do you think, do you know a lot of people that just stop when they're faced with that?
I know more people that stop when they're faced with adversity than do act when they're faced with adversity. I think it's unfortunately sort of a plague facing people of our generation in particular, just because it's so easy to be lazy. That's kind of what that's kind of what drove my passion for like fitness coaching, or like at least being an influencer in the fitness space, was like, just because you can get away with sitting in an office desk all the time and eating whatever you want because the Uber Eats exists, doesn't mean you should do that. You should probably still take pride in the fact that you're a human and you have a body capable of being fit, and you should chase that. So I view a lot of things in that same light as I relate to fitness. That's the thing I like. But yeah, that's definitely it's definitely the same thing. It drove a lot of parallels for sure.
And that's the problem, right? Is as you look at the macro trends too, and people are getting lazier. I mean, the anecdote, right? I'm not going to say the whole thing, but just easy or hard people create easy times, and now the easy times are creating soft people, and that's what we've seen. But now we've made it so bad that we're on the flip side of that, and the soft people have created hard times because we've wanted to live so comfortably. We've wanted everything delivered right to our door. We're getting slowly now forced to make ourselves hard again, to have the discipline to fight through it. The economy is getting worse. Things like that are falling apart in front of us. And obviously the government's still shut down. There's a million things that we have to get figured out as a group of people as a whole. And, with just avoiding like the political side of it entirely, it just shows that people are either going to take one or two paths. You're going to complain about it, right? Or you're going to act on that, right? You can't control whether or not like the government shut down or like the market crashes or whatever that is, but you can choose whether or not you prepare for that in advance. Whether you make the smart decisions and not, go out and eat every night, if that's your current pattern, if finances are tight, there's always something you can do to move a piece on the board. So that's what I think makes people successful versus not. The world economy right now is straight up just sputtering in general. I wrote down that jobs are getting scarier and scarcer too, with unemployment creeping past 4%. And even though inflation's not as wild as a few years ago, it's still nibbling away. Think like 5 to 10% jumps on your rent, groceries, the basics, while paychecks are barely moving. It's not just a rough patch, it's the grinding uncertainty making every move feel heavier than just some of the rebound years we've had recently. And honestly, I'm kind of upset that the market's been so good, because now that it's just completely 180, it feels so much worse, because not only are you not making money, you're actually a lot of times losing money now due to inflation and things like that. So Anthony, I mean, from what you've seen, just your personal, life experience in the last couple months, what do you think is one way that 2025 here and what we've been facing is forcing people your age, maybe people in entrepreneurship, to rethink starting up side hustles and things like that? How are they being challenged?
I think one of the biggest challenges is that because it's been a popular thing for, I don't know, probably longer than I've been seeing it on my own page, but I'll say like the last 5 to 7 years, everybody's feeds is just constantly flooded with, you need to be on the grind, the Andrew Tate edits that are telling you that, you need to join Hustlers University and start making $1,000 a month today or whatever, a day today, it's become so commonplace that I think it's almost turned into like a lot of the resources out there that are teaching you how to start the side hustles, because that's kind of like the direction the market's taking. It's not necessarily just people being creative anymore. It's just like freelancing is a thing. Let me go learn something about that. Or e-commerce is a thing. Let me figure out how to do that for myself. And I'm not going to be creative enough to think of like, there's a certain need that's specific to my city. Let me go solve that. So anyways, I think that it's almost become like an entertainment thing, or like you say it a lot on the podcast, but like mental masturbation, where it's like, it sounds nice and it like looks nice for me to be busy online building my Shopify website, and then like, yeah, let me test a few products, and a few months goes by and it's like you might have been doing things, but it's almost like you were just doing it for entertainment at a certain point, at a certain degree. Like some of the resources out there feel kind of, we've talked about this before, but it feels kind of like you're just watching a Netflix docuseries on like somebody else's life, or how they're just teaching you to do this and it's all laid out in front of you. And it turns into another one of those things, kind of like your phone, where it's like, oh, that's a cool video. Let me save it and I'll do it later. And then
It's a source of dopamine, I think, right?
yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I'm trying to get at. Is it's become more of like a source of dopamine, a quick rush to make you feel good because you worked on yourself today. But I don't think many people are making more than like a few $100 a month off of any of these side hustles. And even if they're making more than that, it's not enough to like rely on it as a full income either. So that would be my response to that. Is I think the challenge they face is it's not scalable, in part because it's not the answer. Like it's no longer about just doing something everyone else is making a few $1,000 off a month for the sake of having a little bit extra to your paycheck. Like you still are to a point where you can buy your time back,
Especially going at it alone too. Most of these people are just getting into side hustles and they're like trying to watch a couple of YouTube videos, and then they're wasting money because they don't know how to even get into the industry. So you have to do market research. Like a lot of Altura's expenses up to this point would be like me testing out different marketing tools, different Like you have to put a lot of money in just to even know what you're doing. Like there's a tuition to learn, whether or not you take a course or you try to figure it out yourself. That's why honestly I think courses are really good as long as you vet them properly. Just because they're scammy, they're like buy my course, bro, but you kind of need that because otherwise you're going to spend that much or more to learn the skill the hard way out in the real world. You're not just going to know or chat GPT your way to the answers. You can't just rely on that information. So you have to either team up with somebody, get a mentor, which is why I have a whole coaching business to begin with, or just survive, but understand you're going to be paying way more, not only with the money, but with the time too. Trying to have the ego of like self-started. So don't think it's like you're a fish in a large pond all by yourself trying to make it. You're supposed to be working with people, and I think that can really isolation. It can be great at times. It makes you focus, but don't think that like you have to be doing this stuff alone. It's another big point.
Yeah, for sure. I see you're thinking. I'll let you finish your point.
It's like too, like a partnership can be the difference between like riding a bike that's like rickety or having like jet fuel behind you, because like you trust yourself to not fall, right? So because somebody has told you a method that's verified and you can trust the method. But then secondly, you triple down. It's like I always like because I'm doing a little brag here, but like obviously I can do a backflip. I was on I competed with like a cheer team in college, as many of you may or may not know. But learning a backflip for the first time is like, well, first of all, you have to start on like a cushion, right? Because you don't want to fall and like hurt your neck or something. But you can't jump as high because you're compensating the cushions absorbing your jump. So it's really hard to it's actually harder to land it when you have protection and cushioning. And then when you go on the hard floor, you have a hard surface to jump off of. And the confidence is there. So you jump way higher. It's even extremely easier. But you have to get over the fact of like learning it and being willing to take the training wheels off. And that's the same thing. You need a spot. You need somebody to help you get over that curve, to tell you how not to land on your neck. And the same things with business too. You're going to land on your neck if you think you're just going to send it by yourself and figure it out. You're going to cause yourself a lot more physical pain. I think that's a good anecdote, but it's even worse nowadays. And I've added that another layer to this is that the wealth gap, or even making it out of the mud or whatever, is getting more and more vicious because the top dogs are hoarding more and more money than ever. Millionaires are controlling half the world's wealth while most folks are just scraping by. There's no middle class. It's dissolving away, and you're either in the top or the bottom. And now 70% of people are living paycheck to paycheck, which is way up from a few years ago. It's a system right now rigged to make going at it alone feel like running into a brick wall. And that's fine, right? Like in terms, not the situation isn't fine, but it's fine to feel like upset about it, but also understand that like something's not wrong with you for being in this situation. 70% of people are like this. So if you haven't made it yet, if you're still grinding, it's not because you're broken. Give it time and understand that it's going to be an uphill battle, which is why you need people. And Anthony, I don't know what necessarily the question is from that, or maybe like, could you share like an example from like your circle or something like that, or maybe at the academy or now, but when somebody pushed you to kind of get past that fear, or what that might have been for you? Maybe content or something?
Push past the fear. Yeah. Yeah, I think honestly you were a big influence in that. And just people I saw online too. Like it just kind of got to a point when I was actually I'll kind of broaden that. Content plays into it, but I guess like the overall sense of like not really caring what people think or say about you anymore, because in high school it's like you're kind of weird for trying, almost like if you do too well at school, or like if you're trying to do something on the side. Like I remember I had a couple friends that were kind of starting out as entrepreneurs in high school, flipping cars or like doing stuff to save money that other people weren't doing, while all the other kids are caring about wearing new Nike Jordans. Like he was just buying stuff from Goodwill because
you don't have to survive there. You're isolated. So why should you be trying to survive?
Yeah, exactly. So I think moving on from that kind of mindset of like caring so much about what other people think to a point where it affects your actions and your behavior and your ideologies of yourself, it was so freeing for me. But it was very difficult to break through that ice, to be to a point where I think content for us, probably starting to create content just about a year and a half ago, was like one of the things that helped me break that, because I had to come to terms with the fact that like my random aunts and uncles across the country and people I knew from high school are going to see my really low production, low quality, gym videos, and they're going to see my physique, and they're going to see what I think and my mentality as far as training goes. And so that was definitely something I had to push through as well, just to get to a point where I know where I'm going. I know what I need to get done, and it doesn't bother me to do the tasks. And in the sense that like when other people might view that as a weird thing to do, even sacrificing an hour of my time on a Wednesday night when I could be doing other things with friends. Like that's weird to a lot of people. It's like sit there and grind and put effort into yourself and do things that progress you forward when other people are out partying or hanging out. I've learned that I'm going to be a lot better off in the end. And also their opinion of me doesn't really have there's really like no salt attached to like what that means for me in the end. So if I continue to just let other people's opinion of what I do and say, dictate how I act, like I might not ever make it to the point where I say I want to be. So that would be my example.
I like that. I like that anecdote there. I mean, you have this. I think too. Part of it is like people don't like the fact that you're out there grinding on something and you're confident enough to be doing it. So a lot of times when they'll bring it up, and people have brought it up to me like too back at work or school or things like that. They're like, "Oh, you have a YouTube channel? They're like, you posting all these videos?" I'm like, "I'm gonna go watch your videos," and they'll look at me like, "Is this guy gonna be like embarrassed or something?" I used to be like, "Oh, don't watch that. That's just like I'm just the side project." What I've realized is now if somebody says that, what I'll do is I'll be like, yeah, I got this podcast, is what we talk about. And it's not that the video is not embarrassing. It's that you just don't believe you're the person doing it because you're still in the stage where you're faking it to be that person. But until you actually become the entrepreneur, until you become the podcaster, the content creator, it's this alter ego. It's like a superhero side of you. And they're uncovering your secret identity. But if you actually believe that that's who you are, it shouldn't affect you when people talk about it. So most of you are going to feel that way because you're still connected to the old self, pretending to be the new self. But when you actually step into those shoes finally, let that be the judge. Let that be the scale. How much do you care if other people say this is what you're doing or who you are? If you feel confident in it, I think you've made it to the other side. But it is a very long journey and everyone has to go through it. So don't feel weird if you're trying to make your first video or whatever it is. That fear, right? And that's Andrew Huberman would break this down, right? You have your fear center, your amygdala, it's lighting up when you have to do something scary because it doesn't want to put you at risk of being judged or excluded from the group. And that's why losses hit twice as hard as wins. There's been Nobel Prize study research on that. And so again, in easier times when like maybe you could just not work on it without people knowing, or it was a faceless company. That's why all these faceless side hustles are out there because people don't want to be embarrassed by being an entrepreneur. They want to just make money without, people knowing that's what they're doing. Kind of like a vigilante style like movie, right? But the fear is actually what forces you to commit to it. And that's what I've been trying to explain so far with the situation Anthony brought up, right? Having to pay those bills, me with my father's health conditions, things like that, having to take a year off school. You have to make it work. And unless you're willing to put yourself in that situation, it's just not going to happen. You have to, and it gets easier. This is why the people that have the most money take the biggest risks, right? Like, did Elon Musk just like, do you know his story, right? You've been over like where he's doubled back in all of his money, basically risked everything. Like, that's just like, that's the only reason he is the only person that could do what he's done. Because nobody would take the billions of dollars and just put it all back in and say, screw it. I could be set, but I'm going to choose not to. I want to go back to the point of, and there's not a smooth, I was thinking about a way to transition it, but I don't think there is. I just wanted to make sure that point was clear. And I don't know. Well, first, Anthony, have you felt that way? Like, do you feel like the fitness side of you, the fitness coach was like an alter ego for a bit? And that was maybe why the uncomfort was there.
Yeah, absolutely. That was kind of funny. You brought that example up of being like, "Oh, don't watch that." Like, it's just something I do on the side. Like, I've said that multiple times to people, where I've definitely downplayed it to my family members or something like that, just because I mean, you're absolutely right. Like, I didn't feel like that was actually me. Like, I just say I was a fitness coach in my bio, but didn't have any clients. Didn't really. I was posting, I'm doing the things a fitness coach would do, but yeah, it definitely felt like it wasn't quite me at a certain degree. And honestly, I think I kind of found that I didn't really enjoy coaching as much as I thought I did once I had a couple clients. So I'll make an even better distinction for what we're doing at Altura. But like the title of COO for me, the chief operations officer for what Altura is building, also was one of those things that didn't really feel real to me for a long time. We've been talking about this for months, right? Even back when it was, we were operating under the title of Ascend, doing other things, like that was still kind of always the role I was to fill. To me, it was like in the back of my mind kind of a thing. People would ask me why I'm on a meeting or a podcast at Saturday, 9 a.m. Every single week back when we were doing that, or why am I doing this kind of thing for outreach, when I should have been with my friends or family doing whatever. It was always like, oh yeah, it's just some work I do like with my buddy, like on the side, just trying to, and I kind of just leave it at that. But now like I see the roadmap that, is internal to Caleb and I that obviously you guys will never see, and then I also see what's being developed and what already is developed for like to provide value to people that literally hold our NFTs that we minted, that we met, held a pre-sale phase that's still active going on. And like started dropping insane value to people like for the small price of whatever NFT costs right now. That's so crazy to me. at this point to be like, it's not really just something I can say where it's in the works. Like it is currently working, and I currently am the COO. That's what I proudly say now to people when they ask what it is I do. When they say, how's things? I know you do like something on the side, right? And I'm like, oh yeah, business is great, man. Like our pre-sale phase is 65% sold out. Like I'm doing stuff with the COO to do outreach. We're developing the brand kits for our Altura Academy right now. It's awesome, man. And people are so much more like, they're almost taken aback at my level of confidence in hearing that. And they're like, oh, because they kind of expect you to be like, yeah, it's just some stuff I do on the side. But then you hit them with the like, no, this is an actual position. I'm like working towards, fulfilling to my utmost capacity. They're like almost impressed. They're like, oh, you're like an actual businessman. And I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what we are. And so I think that one's kind of come more full circle for me than the fitness coaching stuff did. But that's definitely something everyone who's an entrepreneur, aspiring, or already has been an entrepreneur, has or will experience, is this sense of like, you got to kind of shift your identity to be like, and we talk about manifestation a lot, but to start speaking as if you already are that 100 million per year successful entrepreneur that's doing exactly what you want to do in the space. Because if that's not what your brain actively thinks about all the time, and in turn forces you to behave like all the time, that's not going to be you in the near future. People have it backwards. You don't just say, I'm working something on the side, and then, because that's what your mind actually believes about it. It's like, it doesn't take it seriously. You say, I am the COO of Altura, and this is what we do, provide for people in the entrepreneurial scene, because that's exactly what I do, and that's exactly what is to come. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And so very finger snap to that. I haven't told you this, but too, one of the big tests I've had was like my actual commander, in my squadron, like said, oh, I saw you, I ran across your social media the other day. I was like, oh, like, and I'm sure part of him was like, oh, is he gonna like be embarrassed by this? Is this like, because we're talking about like a lieutenant colonel in the Air Force, like really high up, asking me what I, was doing on social media. And I could have been like, oh, I didn't know it was public. Like I did all this stuff. But I said, yeah, that's a YouTube channel I started to share business advice. It's in the form of a podcast. We do it every week. And I'm sharing a lot of the insights that I've learned. I started it while I was still at the Air Force Academy, and I had a consulting capstone. I started out, just giving like other types of advice. I was actually doing like dating advice at first. Then it turned into business coaching, and I had a capstone. And from that point, I've just decided I have this love of sharing information and things I learn about how to make people more productive versions of themselves. So I said too, like whether you're inside the office or you're outside the office, at that point, I'm serious about making people into a better version of themselves. And that right there, like, was the test of somebody very important's asking me about this. Am I willing to publicly own this, right? And that was afterwards, I'm like, wow, yeah, I didn't even think twice about answering that. That's the proof right there that I know that this is who I am. And I don't have, like, I can see I'm now closer to the other side of the bridge than when I started. It's been a rocky road over that abyss of that cavern we talked about, and it's having people, which is another key point I want to make, which we talked about a little earlier, to get you there, right? Like Anthony and I feed off each other's energy. If it was just me, it'd be so much worse. And with failure rates now spiking 15 to 20% from just a few years ago, it's now 20% harder to be an entrepreneur than before, let alone the money and all the other stuff. It's why taking the leap, guys, feels like a blindfolded leap off a cliff that you don't know how deep it is. You don't know what's at the bottom. The cliff I talked about at the beginning, it's dark, scary. You don't know what's below. And so you either go full delusional and you just convince yourself you're going to be fine, and then you either make it or you don't, or just find people, because there's literally people that want you to partner up. There's an Anthony for me. There's a me for Anthony that can like be there and say, hey, whatever's going to happen, we're going to find a way through this. I don't think Andrew Tate would be who he was, for example, without Tristan Tate. Right? I don't think like a lot of these podcasts would get to the point they're at unless they were in communities of people working together. You need people to show you the light, and that's the key point. You talked about it, I talked about it, but it's turning traps into triumphs by just somebody coming here and saying, you can commit to this because I believe in you, before anybody else publicly is willing to do that. And you can do it by yourself. It's great, but having that one person, I think, just makes it so much easier. I assume your wife's been fairly supportive too of this, and she's been in your corner. It'll hopefully help make that a little easier too.
Yeah, absolutely. I think to any human being, there's a few pillars that make us what we are as humans. I think there's mental, spiritual, and physical. If you just wanted to break it down into three, there's probably more you could. But my wife has definitely been like, she's as the Bible says, like the crown over my head is as the head of my household. That makes me a better man in the sense of my mental and spiritual abilities to lead our household correctly, right? And if it wasn't for her, like, and it's not that she nags at me to like be a better man or like to be more in tune with my spirituality. It's just that because she is such a good wife and a good woman to me, Like it gives me an inherent drive to like be better for her. It gives me the almost an instinctual drive to like be a better provider, defender, protector, you know what I mean? And to actually care for my household as a man should. And but I will say too, there's a lot that, and she doesn't like when I bring this up with like my friends, but there's also quite a few things like as a man that I feel like I can't really talk with about her, or about with her rather, just because she's, like I said, she's a woman, obviously she's not a man. She doesn't really understand what it's like to also carry that weight on my shoulders of being the head of my household and carrying the weight of success for our children, and their children's children, you know, future generations. Like that falls squarely on my shoulders. At least it does in my household. And so I do know, like, also there's people like Caleb is probably the most prominent one in my life right now, that they kind of keep me accountable in the sense of like the work I'm doing, what it is I'm actually accomplishing day by day to like bring me closer to our business goals. And I also have a couple other male friends that have other interests that are similar to mine, that, you know, are constantly striving to improve. But really it comes down to like whether it's just one person or a group. Like humans are meant to be social creatures. Like we don't just accomplish by ourselves. And for me, like I have my wife, and then I have a really small circle of like 3 dudes that, you know, are also heavy hitters in whatever aspect of life that I'm trying to be a heavy hitter in, and either are at the same caliber or higher than I am at whatever it is I'm trying to achieve. Because if I want to do better, I'm going to surround myself with people that are doing exactly what I say I want to do.
So you're like a caveman, right? Because you need like a partner to just literally from a biological point reproduce with, to share life experience with, all of the stuff. But also, right, you got to go out and hunt. You got to go secure the food for the day. So you need a group that you can trust and put that effort in. If you trusted everybody, you wouldn't be safe. So you need that like killer hunter team to go out and execute with you. And again, guys, you're the sum of the people you hang out with. So if that one guy's gonna say my leg hurts when we're just about to get the woolly mammoth, or, you know, whatever it is, stay with me. That's what's gonna survive, like literally determine if you eat or not at the end of the day. You need to think of it almost that like black and white. And I think that helps put yourself in that situation. Imagine it wasn't money. Like take all the extra fluff out. If you had to eat, and whether or not you ate was determined based on the quality of people you're hanging out with, you would instantly swap those people out. You would be making the right decisions. And it gets so much easier when you have the right. You don't notice the difference until you notice the difference. And a lot of you don't even know there's an other side to this. And it's so a lot of people get stuck in that trap of like, oh, I like these people. Oh yeah, but have you tried going and finding new friends? Have you tried networking? I like the academy because that was just a place where you found people that were hot shit, like A tier. So it's easy to find that. That's why like the relationships from a military academy just set you up for life, basically, with that network. Yeah. So the other thing I was going to say too is that for me, that was actually a really big moment that I never told you, that showed that I personally was on the right track. The fact that you asked me for advice with content and all this stuff, it's like filling up a cup, right? Because if you fill up a cup, at first it feels more empty than it is full. It's you saying, I just do this on the side, you know, don't watch these videos. Eventually the cup gets more full than it is empty because you keep pouring effort and time into it. And you're like, you know what? I'm 80% this person. I'm more full than I am empty. And this cup that I was pouring from is not me anymore. And then eventually you keep pouring it in and keep pouring and keep pouring. You don't even notice how full it is. And you're now overflowing the cup and filling other people's cups. Right. And now all these people are coming in, and you're going to get somebody someday very soon, I bet, that says, hey, Anthony, how do I start posting like gym videos? I'm trying to get into the same stuff you are. And that's going to be the moment for you where you're like, damn, I'm that person now. Because now I'm not only confident in who I am, but now other people want me to help them follow in the same path. And that's the moment that you know that you've kind of filled that cup up. I just kind of came up with that on the spot. I don't know how good of a metaphor that is, but
That was great.
Yeah. So I think you're going to get that moment very soon, especially as we keep growing Altura. But that is the goal of Altura. Is I think Anthony and I have both come to a point where, for being as young as we are, we filled up our cups. We've achieved a lot on paper with our resumes, right? With the careers we've started. And then we've also started Altura with the podcast. I feel like we know what we're doing every day. We've gotten this path figured out. And now we just want to help other people. We're not at the top of the hill yet. We're just a couple steps ahead saying, hey, come catch back up with us. We think we can help you. And I think compared to some of the big names, the Alex Hormozis, the Iman Gadgis, sure, they know what that's like, but it's been 6 to 8 years probably since they were in that position. I don't think to you that's as helpful as somebody that's in the trenches with you still. Especially still, I mean, I'm still dealing with financial struggles the same way a lot of other people are. Like the markets still affect me. If I had $100 million in a bank account, it wouldn't be as bad, but like I'm still kind of navigating these issues just like you guys are. So find people that are close to you. Don't find people that are insanely distant, and be humble enough to if you're on the other side of that, work with other people and show them, your journey too and how it's human. You want to talk about finances real quick? Like just the market? I want to talk about the market. Bitcoin. I'm going to switch this up here. Actually, everyone knows about some people call it the market manipulation, all the stuff that happened recently with the kind of pump and dump or actually dump and then pump for the tariffs news and stuff like that. I've noticed, and I posted this in the Discord community, obviously join our Discord by going to alturasociety.com and then going into our chat once you make an account. It's free. I can get started there and just hop in our space. But I posted a screenshot of gold dumping while Bitcoin spiked. It's like the same time. And there's this big wealth transfer going into Bitcoin and crypto. It was the worst drop in gold in over a decade yesterday. And that was sky high levels, around $4,087 an ounce. Silver also got smoked the same way. So this money isn't just disappearing, it's going somewhere. And meanwhile, Bitcoin's eating its lunch. It blasted past 112,000. That's pretty low, as most of you guys know who've been tracking the price, but it just hit a record 113,000, after the massive jump back down to basically 100K. And it's shrugging off this shutdown dip, right? It should be way lower because those government shutdown, money's not flowing out, but it's still doing great because it's world backed. So for the news and everything that's out, it's like the old school safe bets are crumbling, right? Well, these digital assets are just owning the chaos because they're just used to it. They're numb to it. And smart money is now chasing and rotating from the market, right? Which is actually, I would in some ways argue, is more risky now than buying Bitcoin, which is globally backed and is still going to keep, running. And it has that fixed supply and utility over just dusty relics. So what do you think, just looking at what I told you, what do you think the Bitcoin flip from gold and money moving in is telling the everyday people about how the game's shifting amid all this volatility? What do you think the institutions are saying if you could, get a word from them? What would they be telling people about their intent?
So if we just think about it logically, we see money. So a dump means people are selling, right? So a dump in gold means people who are owning gold sold. And then a spike means people are buying, right? So what does this tell you mathematically, logically? Well, money's flowing out of gold into Bitcoin. So what does that mean about tangible hard assets? And we could make, I think you bring up the institutions. So I'm not saying that gold and real estate, for example, are like, because those are independent markets, but what does that say about hard assets in general? Like traditional assets that people tell you should be investing in to, keep you safe for when you retire, as opposed to like retirement account. Well, that tells you that we're moving into the digital age. That tells you that we're moving into digital hard assets that people can purchase and use, like liquidate freely at any point in time to like use to buy something. Like I'm pretty sure you can buy a Tesla now from the factory. It'll drive itself to your house in Bitcoin. Or XRP rather, that's what it is. But that tells you like people are the faith in what is doing well based on largely the price and the interest rates required to be invested in those kind of things are switching now to the digital hard asset. So people are selling clearly, like they're selling the hard asset of this precious mineral. They're buying something that for some reason they value as valuable and precious too. And if it's going to be a spike that's on the screen right here, that's that deep and that high, that's not just like your average everyday Joe's buying and selling, by the way, guys. That's like institutions. That's like BlackRock. That's like Vanguard. That's like the US government. That's like people who work in the US government that clearly know something that the average everyday American doesn't. And that's why we keep talking about this massive transfer of wealth too. Like things are turning into we've been in the digital age for a while. And I still don't think people are like 100% caught up on the fact that cryptocurrency is not going anywhere. It's not like funny money. It's not, I mean, some of them are like, you can buy a meme coin if you want, but like actual coins that have utility back behind them are the future. Like it's where things are going to start being purchased with solely. Like, what are you going to do when we talked about this a million times? What are you going to do when the impossible math equation of how the US dollar is backed right now makes it so the US dollar is now, you can't buy a loaf of bread for more than like $40. Like what good is that when Bitcoin holds its value every single day and actually grows, So it tells you something about what the largest corporations in our country are doing should probably tell you about a thing or two about where you should be putting your money yourself.
I just listened to this song the other day too that was like, I think the lyrics were, life's a game, pick your table. Like, you're not going to avoid risk too, especially what I just showed you on the screen. Everything is gold dipped 5%. Gold, that's like the standard of like safe investment. Like a gold bar back then would buy a house in the 60s. It would still buy a house today, but it's moved 5%. Life is risky. Just choose your table. You're in the casino. Are you playing roulette? You're playing blackjack. What are you going to win at? What is the game that you're going to master? because you're taking on risk either way. And again, Anthony, I have both shared with you, the maxing of the credit cards, taking on loans, paying for the wedding, right? Taking on hustles. I had family health scares, heartbreaks, things like that. Stress either forges you or folds you. And if I could like reach out, you don't avoid risk ever. So stop thinking with like your fear emotion. You have to master that. And the first thing you can do to master that is understand which game you want to commit to. I think too many people, first of all, jump into too many different ventures. If you're going to get into crypto, if you're going to get into this, start with a safe investment, which I honestly do think is Altura in a lot of ways. Just because, A, we're helping you through it. There's a network here. We're not necessarily a like security investment asset. So what you're doing is you're hybrid investing in crypto because you're buying a membership NFT that as we grow, right, which we will grow because we're here every day, the NFT value is going to go up. And you're also using that to get educated about the market, entrepreneurship. So take on assets that minimize your risk, but also give you upside. And in this case, the upside is saving you the thousands of dollars on the education, the life lessons, the learning, trying to network and go to meetups where you'd find people versus having all that in our private space. That's why we built Altura Society. It's a utility-based fortress, risk protection, in my opinion. There's no sketchy security vibes. Somebody just asked Anthony for the contract address. Everything's public. We have all the information out. It's pure empowerment. And we're treating the market now like an actual, going back to stage one of capitalism, right? Which I went through before. Now you have people like trading fart coin for poop bucks, right? And these things that don't even exist versus going out and working in a field, which was stage one. Like you are either directly producing labor, but then you're trading a stock that's representing the labor. And then you're trading Forex where you're trading currencies for currencies, and none of that shit means anything on paper. So the only way to survive a crash is go back to the hard, tangible skills. I'm getting off my soapbox in about 10 seconds. Go back to hard, tangible skills and ask yourself, in this market where Bitcoin's going like this, gold's going like this, but tomorrow it might go the other way, what skills, the only thing that's going to survive a market crash, right? Uber delivery isn't going anywhere, but I think you're more capable than that. What are you going to deliver into the market? And what skills do you actually find passionate that you could go out there and create a machine in, which is a business that protects you the next time this happens? I think all of the information, all the answers are inside of alturasociety.com and will be if you come in early, help us build this, and trust that it's going to happen and jump off that cliff knowing there's going to be a cushion down below. I have a question for you, but I don't know if you have any response to that first. If you just want the question.
No, I think you smashed it. Absolutely. That's just, I'm good with the question when you are.
Why do folks, I'm like glass, I don't need glasses. I just wanted to emphasize this question. Why, boomers, if you're a boomer, listen, why do folks still call crypto a gamble or NFTs a gamble when clear paths and ecosystems like ours are straight up economic lifeboats? And in my opinion, the only way out. Why are they calling it a gamble?
The answer that I truly believe is because they don't want you to make it out. They don't want competitors. They want you to think there's a middle class that you are a part of, when the truth is there's not. There's wealthier people in the lower class, but there's a clear divide, and they don't want you competing with anybody at the top. They want you buying the products that they have a stake in. They want you doing the things that they fund. They want you making the decisions that they've lobbied politicians to tell you are the right decisions to make. I don't know if that's the happy answer.
We're early. Yeah, I think eventually it'll be, when it's the right time, everyone will be talking about Bitcoin. But right now, they're trying to keep it on the down low so that all the big institutions can get in before they go say, everyone needs to be in Bitcoin. It's the only safe asset left. The smart people have just seen that coming already and have bought in. The dumb people are watching the news and waiting for, your uncle's second cousin to be like, hey, Bitcoin's, it's all over. And then your uncle is also telling you that. And now your brother's telling you that. And it's like, by the time it's like right in your face, it's too late. And then that's where you get beat by the people that are now liquidating off the news because they got in early. You've never been early once in your life to a good investment on purpose. And that's because you've been dissuaded from investing. You need to go against the grain. Everyone that's in the 1% has done what the 99% haven't. So ask yourself, are you being a sheep right now? Or are you going out and hunting and being a wolf? That's the only metaphor I think you have to compare it to. It's like value over Vegas. Look at the actual value of Bitcoin, fixed supply. Bitcoin will be more rare than gold because Bitcoin's going to slow down to basically zero in the long run. Gold is still being mined. We're trying to mine asteroids and deep sea stuff, right? To try to get more gold. Like there's more potential out there, but Bitcoin is mathematically fixed. And so if you look at the actual value, if you actually read the white paper, I don't even know what decimal fraction of a percent will ever read Bitcoin's white paper, but look at the utility behind it and how globally it's backed. And look at the current system, the current financial system, the current markets where unemployment's, hanging around 4%, and has been increasing in the last few months. But in Altura, right, you're networked. You have, again, my debt saga proves that. Smart borrowing plus partners and having a path equals breakthroughs. And again, we're not necessarily like the crypto meme coin thing, right? We're backed by crypto and blockchain because I want to show you guys that it's okay to trust in these systems. You just have to pick the right ones. But lone wolves, going about all this yourself and not having an asset or be investing in something like this when the dollar hyperinflates again. If you're by yourself, the lone wolves starve in the winter because they just can't go and do what they can in the good times. And now winter's coming very quickly, literally and metaphorically. So Anthony, with, especially let's talk about AI too, and you can comment on that, or you can just say in general with the way the economy's been. How do you think folding into platforms like ours is helping people that are worried about their jobs and the competition out there stay ahead, based on what we're going to be working on here and putting out?
Yeah. So I don't really agree with the statement that a lot of people make where it's like, oh, AI is going to take over everything. It's going to take over the world and nobody's going to have a job anymore. It's like, well, people probably thought that about computers too, realistically. It's not that your specific job right now might disappear, but it's not going to be something where there's no job for you to be had. You need to know how to use that tool to do what it was you were doing or something else better that a human without the tool could have done it by themselves. Or you need to learn another skill entirely that, AI would have to integrate with like robotics or something else crazy to like even make possible. Either way, that's where Altura steps in. That's where Altura is different from other course creators or course content kind of things, or any other cryptocurrency degen meme coin investment. Is like we're blending the best of both worlds, where it's like we're really just founding it off of the utility and concepts of both. We're not even really giving you anything specific to those skills. It's more like we're using the utility of crypto and blockchain and NFT that grants you and only you access that you can pass down for generations to something that switches over into this other field where it's not the same Netflix style high production. Let me just entertain you with my course content. I'm 20 years old, by the way, and I drove a rental Lamborghini, but you can definitely trust me. It's like we're teaching you how to succeed. We're teaching you, hey, you're still a little bit early. You have time, but you need to learn something. You need to learn how to do something that you can own, first of all, and have the rights to, but that also is going to be something that is of value in this new age where AI is capable of taking over a lot of white collar jobs in particular. The education, the investment opportunity, but it's something that the market has never seen before, where it's like, it's different than just relying solely on hype. There's utility behind it. And it's different than just portraying something as like it feels good to watch this and make you feel productive. It's like, we're actually giving you tactical steps that you can tackle today and make this happen.
Vision AI, yeah.
Yeah, vision.
Some of you guys are just trusting. I know there's people too, and I actually like talking to AI a lot. I sent you an article. It's kind of scary that there's like the army general. I think he's like the commander of South Korean forces. He literally says, I've used AI several times to make important military decisions. I'm like, wow, this is big now. Like, we have the fate of our army being decided in certain ways by people using AI. And it's AI is unavoidable, which is why we're using it, right? We're not just like fighting against it. Why fight against the grain of something that's going to be inevitable? Pandora's box is 99% open. We're not changing the game. We're not filling up the last 1% or anything. I'm just going to survive and adapt to what's already out there. So we've adapted and created Vision AI, which is a tool backed by the strongest model of Gemini. And we might be switching to ChatGPT, but I like Gemini's performance on this specific aspect better. And you have a task list, basically, like your Apple Reminders app. And basically your task can be imported into Vision AI. Vision AI says, okay, so based on what you're trying to accomplish, which it walks you through strategic, operational, tactical level goals, figure out 5 years from now, 5 months from now, and then maybe 5 days from now, different levels of what you should be working on. You take your tasks and it'll recommend tasks to you too. And it actually works through those one by one like an executive assistant. Eventually we'll add functionality, maybe linking it to your calendar to plan out your day, all that crazy stuff. You guys are early, okay? So I'd love the feedback on that. But we've created this AI that's actually practical and isn't just this empty text box where you guys don't have the framework of how to think about going about solving your problems. I've used what I've done coaching and helping business owners and refining their businesses to create a system that does that for you without me sitting down personally with each one of you and charging you way more money than Vision AI is ever going to cost, which is right now $15 a month. But I promise you it's going to go up. And for those of you who are just like AI obsessed, we created that so you have AI. So it's not like you join our community and talk to real people or you talk to AI. You can do both. You can talk to AI in our community, which is backed by one of the strongest models out there, or you network, or both, and can combine them together. I actually would like to see our networking hub, which is like LinkedIn, but not for boomers, where you can meet Gen Z people that are like serious about crypto markets, AI, Web3 stuff, entrepreneurship, coaching businesses, podcasts, and connect with them and find somebody you can hop on a podcast or start a podcast with. And then you have the AI aspect of like working through the actual business with that person, maybe even in real time, and coming up with the task together through a framework that's already been pre-programmed for you. That is literally here's the line and the bridge to walk across the gap without ever having to look down. And so, it's your wingman. You browse faster, your brain rewires faster with the tools we're providing. It's just science. And economy wise, we're seeing early year slowdowns. Most folks are feeling down about their prospects, but this is the jump that will get you to the other side. And a lot of people, including me, I'm building these tools for myself, are the light that will guide you there. So Anthony, let's just say right now, one of the questions I have too is, do you think this AI wave is what do you think is your 2026 prediction for AI based on the 2025 trends? What do you think AI is going to be, or what gap do you think it'll start to fill as we move forward here for entrepreneurs specifically, among other people? What do you think it already is filling, or what do you see it filling?
Yeah. I honestly don't think I can answer that because to be honest with you, like I see a new AI tool or capability pop up like every other day that like is beyond my imagination. Like something I would never have imagined AI being capable of doing. And we've talked about this many times, but like for example, Motion that we started using before they dropped this feature, like now has AI employees that will go and like do things that I remember you brought something up like it was still like in beta testing where you were like paying money. I see you're kind of yeah, some like yeah, I don't remember what it was called, but it was like kind of mad expense for like just one of those bots. And now we have like a simple calendar app that has AI employees, multiple, for less money than one of those costed a year ago. It's like doing things, writing, sending emails, scheduling, like you can just program to do things that otherwise you would have had to think about in real time and click and do. Sora 2, for example. Like I've actually seen many videos on my feeds where like I genuinely can't tell if it's AI or not because they like crop it just right, so you can't. It's like really discerning. Or like as far as entrepreneurial gaps, I think the first thing that's going to come is like marketing. Like it's going to be something where we could just use Sora now and like make these awesome ad marketing campaigns, and we don't have to pay anybody to come out and do that. We can just like use this AI tool to make these abstract concepts on screen like look awesome, look professional, have all the graphics we need in them, and then it's done. And then you're not going to see commercials anymore because it's just going to be AI. I mean, you'll see commercials, but it won't be like human actors.
I know Mr. Beast is worried about that. He was talking about like he's worried he's gonna lose business because of AI videos.
We holding down for you, but you okay?
I think it's just the stream is running. Yeah, I think this is the stream is running a bit long, so that's probably why. But we reestablish our connection there. But I think yeah, because Mr. Beast spends $250,000 blowing something up or like building this elaborate set. Somebody could do that for $5 using like Sora, and it would be more entertaining to watch. Like, so he's worried about like that stuff. It's obviously a huge presence, so it's kind of like the voice of this industry in general. Because if he's worried about something, he's the biggest YouTube creator. You should probably be worried too if you're trying to get into it. But you don't have to be worried. You just have to know how to use it, so that way you're not left behind when everyone else is. And sure, it might take away. I think there's always going to be a human aspect because humans are going to understand why would I want to watch a robot when I could watch somebody I could actually go meet or go to an event for in real life. I think Altura is always going to have that value too. You can't network with AI, but we're going to set up networking events in some of the largest cities in the world. If you're a holder, you'll get invited to for free. So all you have to do is get the NFT now before it's thousands of dollars for a ticket to one of our events, and you paid $250 to get that. Unlimited use of Vision AI. The Academy and the Education Hub. It's like insanely cheap. It should be thousands of dollars that we're charging for this, and high ticket programs would, but you guys need to see the opportunity and see where the world's heading. And that's why that was, I think, an important question. The last thing I'll say is, I don't know if I'm still lagging to you or not. Am I?
A little bit, but I can hear you okay.
The last thing I'll say is build your tribe. And by that, like Altura, right? We're already gonna have a version of LinkedIn basically where you can meet people that aren't, using corporate talk and cheesy and all this stuff on LinkedIn, but people executing tactically in the field. You can see what their businesses are. Imagine like Tinder, but for entrepreneurs. You guys can like find the people that will actually match with you and have the personality that makes things possible. You don't have to worry about trusting them because they've paid to get in just like you. So you're both committed to a greater vision, right? And you're not trying to scam each other because you're part of Sales Live. The price is ready to explode. Let me add Anthony back in here. You got cut out. There we go.
I'm not sure why it kicked me, but
Yeah, I think it's just a time thing, but it's all right. We're almost done. So the NFT pre-sale is live. That's going to go up rapidly in value, and this is going to be your only chance to buy it this low. Again, you can resell this. This is resellable, so ideally buy more than one. And right now we're about to launch the cash challenge because so many of you guys like the points side. Which, if you don't know, we have the points challenge where if you refer people into our community, if you just chat messages in Discord, you get points, which get added to a prize pool. And your share of that pool based on your activity will be equivalent to a amount of tokens that will airdrop to you, free money in tokens that you can use for all of our benefits and stuff. And obviously it's a cryptocurrency too, so trade it, whatever you want when we launch it. But ideally the utility first, that's what we're going with. And again, the cash challenge is the second side. So now we're also paying you cash because we have the Accelerate plan and the NFTs. So if you refer somebody into our community, $10 instantly gets deposited into your Stripe. You can pull out and utilize as money. It's your money. Congrats. You just made 10 bucks from having a link in your bio. Or if you sell an NFT, at least $50 from this point forward. And that is one of the craziest affiliate deals compared to all the other ones out there that I can offer you. No other crypto, no other NFT projects doing that. This is why we're different. Every move stacks points to free crypto on the launch. Utilities driving it, guys. Our in-person events, our networking hub, our AI, Vision AI, our tools, our education, our software, our AI. That's all value that's going to grow with your hustle. And hit alturasociety.com. It's going to be linked. It's in my bio /alt-token for the crypto side of it too. You can set it up, link it with your Stripe, right? Partner up, and then you get the lion's share of what we're making too. The link's in the bio. If you're doing it by yourself, you're going to be crushed. But if you are doing it with us, we will be unstoppable. It's going to happen regardless. Anthony, drop that final spark. Any last thoughts you have or message to rally the troops here?
if you're still not bought into the idea that we're living in a digital age that inevitably is going to be moving in the direction Altura is already existing in, I want you to just go look up who the top 3 largest companies in the United States are and look up what percentage of the Bitcoin supply they own. And that'll tell you all you need to know. This is not something that's you can ignore at this point. Like, this is something that from Altura's perspective already stands, already exists, already is offering value to you. There's not much more we can do besides hopping on these podcasts, hopping on. I mean, Caleb hops on like 3 times more than I do to tell you guys exactly what it is Altura has built, tell you guys exactly how we see you fitting into the plan for us to succeed, and then also in turn having you succeed. Because the way Altura runs and is structured is like every time somebody joins off an NFT sale, every time somebody succeeds as from like the funding pool or from in their small business, all of that money and then all of that success gets reverted back into building the utility for other future holders to be held. So money from NFT sales goes into developing the brand kits for you guys to understand, to have a better education as you're taking off as entrepreneurs. And every time somebody has a massive success from our funding pool, whatever it is they built, you now get free access to for life because you're an NFT holder. So
Yeah.
with every person that joins, Altura gets better, the offer gets better, the benefits get better, and the price gets higher. So right now is your time to join. It's only 0.06 Ethereum, about $240, $250. You're never going to see it cheaper. And it's a reward for you to buy into this vision early, to understand where the market as a whole is headed, how Altura fits within that market scheme, and what it is that we are creating and providing value for. I mean, I think that we're up to 130 people right now that have minted so far, 65% of our pre-sale whitelist, NFT mints. So
Yeah.
get yours today. I've already walked multiple people through the process of minting. It's pretty simple. All you need is a credit card, really. You could figure it out yourself, but I know some people like to have that extra. Some people are new to crypto, don't quite understand how it works. So I've walked a few people through it. If you're interested in that, join the Discord, drop us a message. Happy to do that for you guys. Like I said, the utility is always for you guys first. The priority is always the holders. So that's all I got to say, man. Get in there and get it while you can at the price it's at.
Yeah. That's why we built, again, this was all just a vision like a month or 2 ago in terms of what we actually had built. We've been pushing this for much longer than that, but we didn't have the website set up the way it was. We didn't have all these benefits to quite literally put money in your account the second you take action and bring someone into our space as a subscriber or a holder of the NFT, right? And how many times, like Iman Gadji's program, all the, I'm trying to think of some of the other big creators, right? Who's the Luke Belmar, all those other people, right? You're paying thousands of dollars, TJR, to get their courses. How many of those times can you actually go resell that course access? Like, sure, you can share a password with your buddy, but how many times can you actually go on the market and make money based on the community growing and your participation in that? There's utility there. We're not selling it based on the investment value because there's so much utility packed in that's worth way more than the resale value. But obviously, right, everything grows at the same time. Help us build this movement. Get paid to partner with us. Right, we're sending thousands of messages out to people Like, and obviously, I don't even want to push this that much harder because the right people will join. The right people, it's obvious. Bitcoin in 2008, you now know about it. This is Altura right here. You're going to actually get a crypto the same way. And if you see the value, I know you're going to invest. And that's actually the people I want. I don't want to go hard sell everybody. The people that are right will find it and they'll benefit from that. And I know you mentioned it too, but the top 3 companies, look how much Bitcoin they're buying. It's the thing I'll say is, you hear all this news, Bitcoin's a scam, crypto's a scam. If I wanted to buy Bitcoin at the cheapest price possible, like the top 3 companies, what would I be telling the public about Bitcoin? I'd be telling it it's the best opportunity ever. If I'm still trying to buy more of it, no. You're gonna, on the poker table, you're gonna be like, yes, I have 2 aces when you have 2 aces. Or you're gonna tell them, it's all right, I got a decent hand. Look, think, use your brain, think, see the value behind Bitcoin, see the fixed supply of Altura tokens, right? And the scarcity and the demand that's going to go up so quickly as we build out all these features, and jump off the cliff, because I've given you the safety line. Anthony's given you the safety line. We just showed you in this last hour. We wouldn't have sat here if it wasn't worth it. So until next time, guys, as I say every time, ascend boldly. And as always, I'm rooting for you.